It's hard to find headline communities that are rivaling the amount of growth that you're seeing right now in Apopka, Florida. I'm specifically talking about the North Apopka region in 32712. You've got huge plans coming with Wild Oak. You're gonna have multi-use, shopping, commercial, and a lot of investment coming to this area. And it's hard to miss all the many land trades that have gone on the past 18 months as you bring popular names like K. Hovnanian and Lennar and MI Homes all making major plays. Today, whether you own here or you're looking to buy here, we're gonna talk exactly on how the data is looking as we head into 2025 in Apopka, Florida. In Apopka, most people are moving here because they can see the growth will be good for them. Most people are thinking in terms of 5 and 10 year plans when they're buying real estate in 2025, and it's hard to miss the reality that if you come into an area like Apopka, if you start on the ground floor before a lot of all these high quality features arrive, you can see yourself being on the upside of something in the long run. Now, Apopka is offering something for everybody. In the south, we have a more established area that's just on the outskirts of the Horizon West and Apopka area on the north. Now, this area is kind of a convergence between I'm getting out of suburban sprawl and I'm now starting to see a little bit of rural, but I see the freeway system and brand new hospitals. So there's a lot of that is drawing people to the established beautiful communities on the south, because the south lines the east edge of Lake Apopka, has a lot of established neighborhoods with quarter-acre plus lot sizes, gated, everything in between, and it's a lovely commuter-friendly area to call home. Now to the north, again, wildlife lovers, they love this area because of the proximity to things like the Wildlife Drive, the many local expansive parks, the ones that are yet to come, and the opportunity for growth. And we're selling a lot of multi-acre lots in the north. So you have 32712. Again, super convenient to jump on the 429 to get down south to Disney World. You go north, you can actually take the Beltway all the way to the north area of Orlando. So, this is a high commuter friendly experience. Additional to that, you got Wekiva Park just to the east of you. Longwood's convenient. And again, North Orlando, if you want to go that route south of the parkland. And there's just a lot of future growth here. So with all that being said, if you want to see an update video to all of the communities, the newest and groundbreaking locations and kind of what they offer, drop down in the comments below. Consider smashing the thumbs up if you appreciate this update. And let's dive in to the data of both the top 2 zip codes, 703 and 712, north and south sides of Apopka, on this video today. All right, we're going to start with 32703, and I'm going to enter that on my trusty jaredjones.com/properties. We're going to click more. We're going to go right here under property type. We're going to select condominium. We're going to select single family. We're going to select townhome. We're going to X out, and then we're going to apply a filter. Now, obviously, while I was there, I could have selected waterfront view, have a pool, single stories only, different things that would help me narrow this down further. But all I want to see right now is what are the lowest priced listings in this particular area, and it's going to pull up and tell me. Now you can see some older results kind of showing up here. 185,000, you can buy a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 888 square feet. And then you start to see a townhouse you can get for 199. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, quaint little nice Florida home, 234,000 for a 3-1. You kind of see the search as we go, but most of the supply is going to live anywhere from 350,000 to maybe $1.5 million for the zip code. All right, now if I flip my filter towards the high end, this is really the mid end of the range. So don't get excited. This high end of the luxury market, 32703, is not what you see on the screen. This is kind of like middle range. This is what a lot of people want to buy. A lot of this, I would tell you, in like Winter Garden or Windermere, this house is going to be closer to $1 million. But obviously, it's going to be a lot more affordable in 32703. As you scroll up and we get towards $800,000 to $900,000, you're going to see things like this. Nearly new, nearly 4,000 feet, estate style lots, 3-car garage, modern build new homes. Now, if you go to the very top end of the market, which kind of peaks out at about 1.5, 1.6 mil, you're going to see properties like this. They're going to have waterfront access. Again, this is a 4,000 square foot home. You can jump on the dock, grab your boat, and go at the end of the day in minutes. A lot of Floridians like that. A home like this needs probably some remodel touches if we were to look at the inside. Really huge property, about 9,000 square feet under air. And this one's, I think, on an acre lot. So you got more of that in the top end of 32703. The industry in real estate is undergoing major changes. Don't pay outdated models of commission. List your home for just 3% so you can save thousands today. Make one call That's all. List your home for just 3%. All right, so we're going to start with Apopka South, 32703 data. We're going to know exactly what's going on. If you own a home here now and you're freaking out because you're watching the news, or you're looking to buy here and you're concerned, am I buying at the wrong time? What is this summer and the rest of 2025 going to hold? We're going to find out. Look at this data. All this is the most recent data on record, straight from the National Association of Realtors through the Florida segment of that organization. So the data we're going to be looking at starts back here on the left, 2019, and goes all the way to the right. In every single chart I'm going to show you, we're going to see that span of about 6 years' time. And I think it's important because you have this pandemic era that we have to be accounting for to understand where we are today. Because right now the news is scaring everybody. Active inventory is also considered what we like to call unsold homes, okay? This is obviously something that people are highly alert about, because if this spirals out of control, then there's a lot of listings. And ultimately, that is what people tend to fear. They kind of think back to the '08 market cycle, and that gets to, generate, I should say they create an association with there's trouble ahead. Okay. So, but look where things really are. Okay. Right now, you're around 145 units. We just ended at 149 units, most recent month on record. Look where we were before we had the thing absolutely just tighten up beyond belief. So we had record amount of a marketplace turned seller favored, very low inventory. We were used to running around 140 units. And you can see that, by and large, look how much, if we're used to running 140 units, look how long 703 was below halfway. So this was a halfway mark, and then it spiked right here. And when the interest rates shot up in 2022, and then everybody took a breath, and all of a sudden it went right down the other side. Okay. So interest rates spiked to 7%. There was an equilibrium gained, and suddenly there was a complete sell-off of what was there. And then the market just kind of over a long year and a half or so has just drifted back to where it is now. But look at this. So the last half of last year, there's been some gain. Okay. You had the inventory kind of sitting at around 100 units. And again, that's still below history for this area. History really was right around 120 to 140 units pre-pandemic, okay, what we consider normal times. And again, I would imagine there's a little bit more population here, okay? So this is not really far out of the pale, out of the realm, and it is up, okay? So you have to consider that, even back here, when October came, this was Milton, okay? This was when we had a hurricane coming to our door. This represented the highest inventory that we had seen in 32703 for years. You can see it. It's open right here. Now, December, we are slightly down from that point, okay? And again, seasonally, how do you think December does every year? It's not the most busiest year. A lot of people are chilling with the holidays. But notable trends, you had some very volatile back and forth. You can kind of see it right here. You can see that it spiked all the way up. September represented an entire doubling in inventory over prior years. So if you're in this area and you're trying to sell a home, or if you're looking around as you live there now and you're like, wow, I see a lot more signs. Yeah, because it has grown in the past year, which is good for everybody. If you're a buyer in this area and you only see 50 or 60 houses on all price categories, it's just not a lot of houses to choose from. So you're getting more towards a normal base. And look, this is important to see, is that 4 months, it is not gone any higher. And again, we will watch this. I'm going to have more updates this year as we see we're going into moving season right now. Spring and summer is when people put even more listings on the market. And that is bringing me to another point. Is this growth due to a lot of listing surge, or are there buyers just pulling back from the marketplace? All right, next chart we're going to look at is pending sales. How active are the buyers? This has always been a question mark. Is affordability affect them to the degree where they're absolutely out of the market? You can see in history, look at the pending arc in the history. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. Look at late. It's a little bit smaller, okay? And you would say, Jared, does that mean buyer interest is collapsing? Well, we don't know. We got to look at we got to see how many the supply chain is. The new listings down here. So if the feed of new listings is also in a big slump, then this isn't necessarily anything to be worried about. It just means the amount of buying and the amount of listings hitting the market, both sides, it could be a smaller market. We just need to see. But look what took place in December. And I don't think this is probably very indicative of the rest of the market in terms of buyers putting homes under contract. December is a weird month for some areas of the market, and it dropped to 35. That is one of the lowest points in recent years. You can see that all these low spots, though, they tend to be Decembers. Look at January of 2022, which was a hot market. 39 went under contract. And that was a point where we still had seriously low interest rates. 39 homes went under contract. You again had 35, which again was lower than last year. It's a 12% decline. You can see, look at October. October is crazy. They had a 77.4% year over year jump in the zip code. I do not understand that at all. Most of the marketplaces around Orlando had the opposite happen because Milton was a cleanup zone. People were not just out buying as much. There was, most of the time, it was made up the following month. But I would say that for whatever reason, this market got very, very efficient. A lot of homes were taken down towards the end of that month. Now, notable trends that I will say is that sales here have been volatile. You can see the 1-year track record going backwards. There's a lot of climb. There's a lot of decline. It's just a big mixed bag. I would also point out as you scan this, as big as we saw that October jump, there were some weak, soft months preceding it. So there was a little bit of seasonal decline kind of as back to school took place, which tends to be really the marked end to moving season. A lot of people, if you really want to sell and strike a good number, you want to do it before these months. But a lot of buyers came raging back later this year. And I have to believe that on balance, 23 and 24, as far as years are concerned, 2024 probably didn't look too much different than the previous year.
Hey, it's me interrupting myself. Are you selling or buying? One call, that's all you need, and put nearly 4,000 home sales and 23 years of experience to work for you.
Jared Jones is the way to go. Call 706-5000.
All right, let's get into new listings. This is the big measure that everybody wants to watch, and this is a kind of a concern. You want to see, like, is there a big push for sellers to bring homes to market? And you can see that April 2024, for instance, back here, you had a 52% spike in new listings, but there were a lot of negative months kind of mixed in. Now, November 2024, we can also note, had a 14% fall off in the lowest level actually of new listings taken in the entire year, all the way back to March is what we saw that month. There were sharp increases in the spring, and you can kind of see towards the end of the year, there was some drop off. But I will say on the whole, it is interesting because look at 2023 and how terrible it was. It was, the entire year ending 2022, you'll remember there was a big mesa, a table, if you will, in the middle of the active inventory. I can actually see it on this chart. See this right here? We had inventory whenever interest rates shot to 7%. Look what happened. Just a little microcosm. Back down. And then when I see this chart, just gives you some insight on my head whenever we're looking at data. I see this. I see that about the same time, this has to be 2022. Look what happened with new listings. People weren't bringing any homes to the market. The market froze. This is a fascinating part, is you had a listing surge event that this point in time, but look what the sellers did. And this, my friends, is a key thing for people to remember when they're super nervous about, the idea. Everybody has 2008 locked in their memory and they keep thinking that there's this surge. Well, this is the barrier to a crash. One of them is, if we're heading in a bad direction, sellers sense it. They don't have to sell. They pull back. Okay. What happened in this marketplace in 2022 is that the sellers themselves corrected by pulling their homes off the market. Okay. That is a crash barrier. Now, the thing is, people don't realize, I think that a lot of people kind of tie these two together, the market now versus '08. They think that in '08, there was higher desperation. People didn't have all these fixed rate mortgages with very low mortgage balances. The more, you got to understand mortgage balances across Central Florida versus how much their homes are worth. There's a huge spread. So sellers are going to be very picky about when they sell. That's a big, big difference. Sellers in '08 did not have a choice to be picky. When they needed to sell, they had to push it in the market. So inventory and unsold just stacked higher and higher and higher. There was no pullback of supply, which you can see it happened right here. Now, ultimately, we can see 2024, sellers were more active. But even again, look at this. In late 2024, they pulled back. It's funny. It's almost like, You saw the chart at the end of the activity here for unsold inventory kind of going up at the end of 24. And then as soon as it starts to get towards some level of height, look what happens. The sellers react. They pull back. There's just so much supply available here. There's only so many interested sellers in selling. And right now, there is a dead even balance in the market between how many buyers want to purchase them. So it's a good thing. This is a healthy market. It's fascinating to see. And I don't know if it's by accident or if it's by intention. The sellers here, they're like watching the market on a dime. Like as soon as it escalates, they pull back. There's less inventory. And I think that's kind of the balancing act that you're seeing as we correct through this marketplace. This is exactly what we've been seeing through many areas of Orlando here since 2022, where people expect a cliff, and there's no cliff. It just gets corrected. It just balances out, And so ultimately, when sellers don't push listings hard, when they pull back or decide not to sell below a price, that is also a barrier to bad things happening. Okay, so that's something important. There are crash barriers. There are barriers that people don't notice when they think only in terms of one linear process. There's going to be high inventory, high supply, prices crash. Then we have 50% reduction, pullback, blah, blah, blah. Those things aren't reality, okay? There's not. Look at it. All right, my friends, now the crescendo of all the data we've seen thus far is what we call closed sales. How are closed sales now? Look at this chart. It's interesting. You can almost see a very flat 2 years kind of unfolding right out in front of you. Now, some peaks and some moments that we want to talk about, record highs and lows. July of 2024, we had 56 closed sales. This was the highest number in the entire year. So it was 56% up year over year. October fell to 38 sales, and that represented 24% decline. I would say that we obviously had a lot of issues with the hurricane, and that caused delays. Some other notable trends that I'll kind of point out, particularly from summer, we saw a big summer performance in 32703. Fall was volatile. You had sharp declines in October. There were recovery in November and December. And overall, sales have been a bit inconsistent. They're just fluctuating with how many buyers are acting, how many buyers are picking them off. And obviously we know that buyers, they're watching closely, they can see that there's definitely a fluctuation in how sellers are bringing their homes to the market. But I will talk about some data right here in the back end of the year. December 2024 closed at 52 sales. Now that was up almost 27% over prior year. This is a stronger year end. That's a good sign coming into 2025. October, on the other hand, just a couple months back, being one of the weakest of the entire year. So you see a lot of that. You see like some recovery months. Now here's the thing. Supply side, we already know sellers are going to have to be careful with prices to be competitive, to secure deals, even in slower months. So that's the thing. You're going to have that continue, especially if you start to see a turn in the spring and sellers really start to bring some more inventory to the market. It'll be interesting to see if we set any new records for supply and how buyers react. I think there's definitely a bigger optimism in the buy side of the equation kind of coming into this year. But let's look at how it's affecting home prices here. Now, median sale price, this is my favorite. You're always going to see me show this over an average price graph because this is going to eliminate the extremes of the market. So if you have a market it's trading a lot of high-end property, it won't affect the numbers you're looking at. Median is a very safe, middle-of-the-road way to understand how price is reacting in a given market. Look at this, 32703. Wow. Most markets, there's a lot of markets in the U.S. where this little number right here is way up here, and the current market month is way down here, right? This is what we say, prices are falling. That's the big narrative. But look at this. We had a peak at the end of the lowest interest rates we'd seen in a lifetime. This is the end. 3% interest rates are bye-bye. Look what happens after. The market then continuously makes steady gains. Okay? So you can see, again, the graphs are always bumpy. You always have the truth in the middle of the graph. So you can kind of see where is the trend line. It's kind of like a 4, 5, 6 month strengthening. Okay? Because the truth is kind of in the middle. You have some lows, you have some highs, but where is the middle? Okay. The middle, I would say, is probably 415, 410, something like that. The last month on record was 421, which actually represents a record high for the area. So 32703 is actually coming off in recording. Again, the truth's in the middle, right? You can't just look at one single month and say, this is what the value is. It's a trend you want to watch. The trend is your friend. And again, if you set up a former peak of 393, you say, Jared, how did the market perform here over the past 2.5 years? It's up by 5%, 6%, whatever you want to call it. It's up by a few percentage points. But again, this is kind of part and parcel with the rest of the market right now. It's not raging. And this is why I'm telling people say, should I buy a house? I get that question all the time. Very subjective answer. Depends on what's going on in your own personal life. And I would say you don't see raging appreciation. This is a market correction. Prices don't have to collapse for markets to correct. The Florida marketplace, if you watch my channel, has grown by 5.4% every single year in history of time. But it's only growing at a 1.5 or 2. Okay, that means it's correcting by 3 or 4% per year. It's getting, over time, it will get where it needs to be, because most people are hyper concerned about this run up right here. Like, look, prices they were going like this, and then they went whoosh, overnight. So everybody expects that if you didn't have this leap and the market just kind of went like this, right? How does this look? Where it'll connect right here. All they got to do is go sideways. Everybody in the marketplace, a lot of people are looking for bias confirmation on YouTube. It's going to go like this. Like the lines here, it did spike and go monumentally high. It grew really fast. But honestly, if it just slows down, it's going to reach this mark of where it should be. Honestly, in some markets, it's going to be very near future. If you watch my channel, you understand this. You're like, Jared, shut it. We get it. You've said this before. All right, now let me give you some helpful data that will help buyers particularly. Look at this. Median percent of original list price. It had been sliding. This is the percentage of how much sellers actually get back from sale, okay? So this is when it was running super hot. Look at this. For about a year, sellers got on average 100% of their asking price. Then they got on average 104% of their asking price. And then interest rates hit the wall, and then it slid, and then it made some gains, and it stayed right around 98%. But you can see in the fall, October dipped to 95%. Now it's strengthening. So sellers are getting a little more power, which means if you're a buyer in this marketplace, you're going to have a chance at negotiating a couple percentage points off of what the seller's asking. But look at the recent trend, 95%, then 97%, then almost 98%. You can see in real time, the sellers are gaining strength. They're gaining more of their original list price, which is good. Like, you're like, hey, what does this mean? It means sellers are starting to win a little bit. And it also could mean too that sellers are listing a little less aggressively. So remember, you're like, Jared, well, what if they start at a better price? Will they negotiate less? That's accurate. So you could also have lots of inventory is more at a more appealing price. It's not being negotiated as much. That will also affect the data. Let's look at one more. Next chart, I'm staring at it with you. I haven't even looked at this, is a median time to contract. Is it taking longer to sell homes? You can see that some of the homes that we're recording in the middle of summer, we're putting up around 61 days. In fact, that's the highest on the entire chart. 30 to 45 days, a home here is going to be under contract. Okay, what does that mean? If I'm a buyer and I see a home on the market for 60 days, I'm going to hyper review it. I'm going to look around. I'm going to see, is there anything I need to know about this particular property? Is it in a flood zone? Is there something going on with the property itself? Is it under improved, over improved? Is there something weird about the asking price? Is there something going on? Okay. So ultimately that gives you a kind of a target to hit as you review the market, is because ultimately the median, the time down the middle, all homes, many of them are selling even faster. But if they start to go 90 days and they're not hyper luxury, hyper high price, they're 900K or below, I'm going to start to be paying more attention to what's going on in those situations. And I'm going to try and over index. If everybody's paying 97% of asking price, I might want to get towards 93% of asking price on that particular transaction. So 32712 in Apopka on the west side of town, I would put that it is the second most high growth area in the western region. So if you take Orlando Metro, cut it in half, this area is booming, okay? This particular area is benefiting because you have the 429 heading through it. They've added new exits off of that road. That road is a very smooth operator if you are in commute mode. It is a rare breeze to actually drive on. I put that up there with like a 528, the East-West Expressway. These are kind of areas, 408, that I just go, you know what? I got to be on that road. I don't mind it. It's probably not going to be bad most times of the day. There are some pinch points, but for the most part, People are going to like this because of commuter-friendly access and the growth part. This is second. I would put this one behind Wellness Way. I'd put this behind the Horizon West, massive growth between there and Claremont that's happening right now. Apopka is going to fit. And Apopka is going to feel a little more out of town. You know, it's not going to be far by any stretch. It can be convenient travel. You can get to the north side of Orlando on the 429, looping around on the Beltway expansion there, and you're not going to have a hard time getting to Disney World. Again, this is the plus here. And I set this up in the beginning. This is where you are also going to have opportunity for a lot of new construction purchase coming up. And again, if I can help you with that, there's plenty of ads for you to take advantage of in my video by now. Complain in the comments if I put too many ads in my video. My editor needs to know. Look at the active inventory. This is unsold. Look at this. It's collapsing. This is happening all over Orlando, by the way. This is, call this, interest rate, Federal Reserve pivot effect. Call this election cycle behind us effect. All those things are affecting this, what you see right here. Now look at the reality before, okay? So pre-pandemic, again, this is behavior that we want to see in the past. You're like, hey, what was this before this crazy, chaotic, cheap money market that we will probably never see again in the history of our country? Maybe even, hopefully, I don't know, next 100 years maybe, we don't see a 2% interest rate. But look at this. So 170 homes on the market, okay? Up to about 180 or so. Now you saw us really lingering there going to the middle of summer, 180, 190 units, started to get there, and then it made some leaps forward, and then it's coming back down, okay? Now, I also want to point out that population here, amount of supply, this active inventory as a percentage of doors that exist and are here now, versus this, night and day. Okay, I don't have the numbers in front. I could pull them, but I don't want to make this video 3 hours long. The reality is this as a percentage of doors is relative to this as a percentage of doors. I know it's easy to look at graphs and be like, oh my gosh, it's bad. Look how high it is. But at the same time, you could look at this like, is it going to fall completely off? Is it going to go back to multiple offers? You got to say the narrative the same way. If this on the way up was like, oh my gosh, record numbers, this makes me equally concerned. If this keeps ticking down for a few more months, you are going to have a vicious summer where sellers are winning. I get to pick from 3 buyers. And again, we're seeing it already. These months that are coming behind this. This is December, folks. I don't have January, don't have February. This is the most recent data. Data is always 45 days behind. And I am telling you, and I sold homes. I put homes under contract in this area, multiple actually, in the past 45 days. Beautiful homes. One on 4 to 5 acres in the 600 range. Got some work to do, got some sweat equity to be gained, but excellent home in the 600s. And it's right. It'll be walking distance from Wild Oak. Shout out to that family, okay? That is going to be awesome. Look at the drop off in the percentage year over year, okay? You saw that we were starting to peak before the Fed pivoted on interest rate, which is funny because what did that do to interest rates to buy a house? Nothing. It didn't do a thing. Yet for whatever reason, that combined with the election cycle, it is dropping fast. 70% inventory year over year, 244. 66%, 236, 63% over a year ago, cut in half. Over that, like 50, 60% fall off in year over year volume, meaning it's just getting tighter and getting tight fast. All right, the next chart we're going to look at is how active are the buyers? Are buyers collapsing or are they engaging the market? And obviously you can see there has been a big leap into the beginning of last year. It was really strong in spring. And then again, understand there's always, this part right here always happens. So if you look at this, this is a year. It always, there's usually it usually goes like a full on U shape, So, just look at this. This is a decent year. It came up and it just slides way off. You can see that the arc is not like it has been from like peak to trough. It kind of stayed a little more solid. And look at the numbers bear it out. I didn't even look down yet. This is my first time seeing the chart. Look at December. Again, this was the same as the South, by the way. You remember Towards the end of the year, the south side was putting up some big numbers, but this has been strong. North Apopka. I am telling you, something is going on in the popularity of this zip code. And if you made a move here, I'm stoked for you. But look, this is one of the few zip codes you can see performing like this. Show me a soft month of buyer activity against your prior. Because obviously, look, this was pre-pandemic. It goes up, hits about 93 units under contract for a given month. Boom, plummets. Goes back up. This is hyper easy money, hitting in the 90 range and back down, up, back down, up, back. Look at this. Collapsed in 2022. Way down here. Then 2023, it went, whoa. It didn't even climb. It didn't come. Look at the highest months. They're in the 60s. So 23 was epic, pathetic here. Okay. Again, this is not unique for Apopka, by the way. If I pull up any zip code in Orlando, 2023 had poor buyer involvement last year. Probably poor seller involvement too. The market on both sides just was lame in 2023. That was prior year, not last year, year before last. Look what happened. This is strong. This is a really strong run up. And again, you can see they obliterated year prior. And ultimately, that's why you're seeing a strong performance year end and active inventory is slipping. But let's check out the sellers. Are the sellers meeting the market? Are they bringing homes for all of these buyers to purchase? All right, new listings. Look at the listing surge. This is the funny thing, like everybody that's really worried about a crash. And then there's a lot of people actually just reporting on Florida. They go on the news, they go on YouTube particularly, and they go, Florida's inventory is absolutely surging. Sellers are just leaving the market. Look how low last year was of seller activity. It was pathetic. There's definitely more real estate to sell in this area now. This is a high growth area. Look what it was pre-pandemic. Year before last, right here, you don't see a peep from sellers. And then the year that follows, we had a good run up through the summer, but then it collapsed again. It's this weird dance where there's a bunch of sellers and there's a bunch of pullback. So, you know what I'm saying? Look at the active inventory. You saw active supply plummet because buyers are outpacing sellers. There's more buyers, higher activity level from buyers, and sellers aren't bringing homes to the market. And that's what's happening. You're now seeing active inventory collapse in this market right now. So here's the deal. It's a great time to sell. I hate to say it. And if you're a buyer, you're going to be experiencing on the more appealing homes, you have to really pay attention. You have to pay attention. You have to do your homework. You might be buying and you might lose on a deal because you're going to be facing competition. Okay? Super, super impressive market. You're going to see an interesting year ahead. I think a good couple of years. I like the future of this market. I've not been shy about it. All right. And here we are in closed sales. And again, records, big numbers for recent history. Okay. So you go back 3-4 years, you see they put up 86 homes. I have imagined this. Yeah. Closing surged mid-year. 86 sold, 83 June. And again, these are big numbers. I think ultimately what's affecting this side of the chart, hurricanes, maybe buyers aren't finding enough supply. You can see down through prior year, this particular market, buyers aren't just buying a little more than last year. They're absolutely obliterating prior year. 65% up, 22% up, 45% up, 23%. Closing volume enormously better in 32712 and 24. And again, no signs of slowing. I would call 2025 to be an aggressive market for this particular marketplace. All right, next up, this will be an effective tool for buyers and sellers. Median percent of original list price. Look at this. It has really been teetering around 97 to 97.5%. In September, sellers here got a full 100% of asking price. Buyers, sharpen your pencils in this market. Make sure you have an aggressive negotiator on your side because you have to. You just have to. You have to know what you're dealing with. You don't want to lose a house that you love. You don't want to pay too much for it. You got to be careful. This is a marketplace trending on the very upper end, well out of indexing the rest of Orlando. Sellers have a good bit of control. I'd still call it balanced. Say the market tiers right in the middle between buyer and seller. But I'd say sellers got a lot of wind at their back right now.
All right, next chart we're going to look at is how sales price is performing. You can see it is on a tear. So the trend for 4 or 5 months is a consistent reporting of a higher price. Now, right now it's at 478,000. I'd say the truth is kind of in the middle. You know, you can see there's peaks up around 490, something like that. And then it has some drops. But again, truth is in the middle. I'd say 480 is a good number if you kind of cut through time. Look at the peak. So peak is July 2022 for this market. It was $494,000. And it is just beneath that right now. It wasn't at summer. So summer, or April, I should say, it was at 492,000. And you would look at this wide, again, this is a flat market price-wise, okay? If you look at it from here to here, there has not been a massive volatility. There's not been a massive push. And I would also say, why is that? Because, you know, it's around $500,000, okay? It's already kind of grown to a good number, and ultimately, it's trading solid. It's trying to staying in the same spot. I said this in an earlier part of my video. If you kind of skipped ahead, maybe you're in this side of Apopka and you only wanted to watch this. This is correction right here. This is market correction. I said this before, that the entire history of our marketplace, if you go back to the deepest pool of data we have, Florida grows by 5.4% per year over time. So now you have 2.5 years where it's been relatively unchanged. That means that 1 year you didn't gain your 5.4%. The second year you didn't gain your 5.4, and another half year you didn't gain your 2.5 or 2.7. That means that you have corrected by 13%. Again, I'll show you again. This is the natural trajectory of the market pre-COVID. Look at it. It goes like this. Now, this took off here instead of just staying on this trend line, and people go, well, because this happened, it's got to collapse 30% before I will buy. And I'm going, yeah, but you don't understand. This is not the same market as '08. This is the correction path now. So if you complete the trend line on normal pace, not this crazy aggressive 5-7 year growth of price that happened in a matter of a year and a half, if you just fill the line and look what's happening within the next year, at least in this particular area, because it's gone so flat, you're going to catch the trend line. Okay. This is a correction. This marketplace did not gain the actual 14% or whatever that it typically gains. And again, all markets are different, but we know in Florida, 5.4%, like clockwork every year, this is a correction. And I would say you're probably within a year if you were just to address a trend line from 2019, okay? Just a nominal trend line with that normal growth. And this didn't happen. When are we back to normal? Okay. I say that to help buyers, because buyers get caught up, and everybody did, especially if you were exposed to 2008, then you're sitting there and you're paying close attention. You're going, you know what? I remember when I lost my shirt. I remember when my parents lost their shirt. And that affects how you think about the market. My friends, this is actually the greatest measure of any marketplace. Months of supply. If you checked one data point to figure out how the market was doing, this is the one, okay? The higher this goes, by the way, up here is a buyer's market. Down here is a seller's market. When the marketplace is down here, this is more aggressive, sells faster, less price reductions, more multiple offers when it's down here, okay? When it's up here, and I'm saying literally the chart would have to go up here for buyers to have strength. But look what happened. It didn't, and it's dropping, okay? Now, look at this. You say, Jared, what am I looking at? What does this 3 mean? This means that if you stop listing homes, it would take you 3 months, 90 days to sell off every single home in this marketplace, okay? Jared, what is the national average? Well, I saw Redfin say that the rest of the country is at like 5 months or 4.7 or something like that. This is a 3. It's way hotter than that, okay? This zip code is hotter than the trend for the country. Orlando is at 3.8, something like that. 3.7 actually now, most recent data. So this is probably 20% better than the rest of Orlando, okay? So this is over-indexing, meaning this area, if you want to live in it, It's running hotter for buyers than any other place. Orlando, the state of Florida, and the rest of the nation. Okay? This is fascinating. This is why you need to do your research. This is why you need to look at each particular situation and uniquely educate yourself on where you're going. Otherwise, you waste your time as a buyer. Like, I love this house. I want to buy it. Okay, well, you have a marketplace that is doing well. At the very least, you have a history of it not losing any value. It's just static. And at the very most, you have enormous millions upon millions, probably close to upwards of $1 billion or more investment coming to this area. Okay. And all that does, if you're an early adopter, you get in before all that stuff shows up and actually adds value to the area, adds convenience, adds buy-in from the rest of the public. Because more of that shows up, the rest of the public's like, the amount of people that want to be there grows immensely. Okay. So it's early phase. This is my prediction for 32712. You've got early phase potential, much like you do in Wellness Way, but you have, I think, a little better price. You definitely have an opportunity for less density. So if you're debating, I want a high growth area in the West, Wellness Way, if you want tight, smaller lots. The biggest lots in Wellness Way are probably going to be maybe 60, 70 footers. Okay. There might be some luxury stuff or stuff at really different price points, but I'm saying where most people live, median price in Orlando is $450,000. Most people are buying between $400,000 and $800,000 every single day. Okay. And Wellness Way for that price point is a small lot. Apopka, that's going to be close or around a quarter acre, more distance from the neighbors. Okay. And a lot of really cool stuff coming. Okay. So give you an idea of just, kind of what you're in for and, help you understand the marketplace and how it's going. But you've got some crazy stuff happening. I'm thinking about doing a video to show you what's going on with Wild Oak, the latest 230 acre master plan. It's going to be a huge benefit for all of the housing in the area, and that's going to be at Kelly Park and Golden Gem Road. This is right off of the 429. You have a Publix on one side of that exit, that's the only thing that people see right now. That's really the only offer right off of that corner. But you're going to have Wild Oaks moving in on the opposite side of the freeway, on the west side. And that is all going to be a huge plus. And just for those curious, the updated plan there is 4,000 more residential units, 2 hotels, a farmer's market, a brewery, 1.5 million square feet of industrial space, 200,000 square feet of commercial anchored by a 25,000 square foot grocery store. So you got more grocery, you got more specialty shops, you got more, office space, you got more businesses moving in. There's going to be a lot more services. And then, I'll throw renderings up while we're, talking about it. The space is going to look really cool. It's going to look amazing. It's going to have some really cool perks and some good design. It looks well planned, and it's just going to benefit the neighbors around it. But as I mentioned earlier, this is for the ones who are planners. I think a lot of this is going to unfold over the next 3 to 5 years. Ultimately, if you're smart, if you're being wise about your purchase, most people need to plan that level of ownership now anyways. In a stable market, don't buy something that you're going to jump out of in a year or two. Okay. Thanks for watching. And by the way, tell me which marketplace I should do a video on next in relation data deep dives or housing updates. What's going on in the housing market there? Let me know. Any other topics? I want to hear from you. I make all this content for you. I want to hear from you. And I ask people all the time when you reach out to me, what do you like? That's what I want to give you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. If you're in the Central Florida area and you're looking for a great church, I'd love for you to join me at the Grove Bible Chapel. Just visit joinmeatthegrove.com for full details. When life changes and it's time to move, the process can feel stressful and overwhelming. You need a real estate professional who can make it smooth and simple. That's why you need to make one call, that's all, put my 23 years of experience and nearly 4,000 satisfied homes sold to work for you.
Jared Jones is the way to go. Call 706-5000.